U.S. Senate, Freedmen's Bureau Acts of 1865 and 1866. On March 3, 1865, Congress passed an act to establish a bureau for the relief of freedmen and refugees to provide food, shelter, clothing, medical services, and land to displaced Southerners, including newly freed African Americans. The Freedmen's Bureau was to operate during the present War of Rebellion, and for 1 year thereafter, and also established schools, supervised contracts between freedmen and employers, and managed confiscated or abandoned lands. The battle to establish the Freedmen's Bureau, and then to extend the legislation 1 year later, was a major factor in the struggle between President Andrew Johnson and radical Republicans in Congress over Reconstruction and the role of the federal government in integrating 4 million newly emancipated African Americans into the political life of the nation. In 1863, Representative T. Eliot of Massachusetts proposed a bill establishing a Bureau of Emancipation within the Department of War to provide protection and support to newly freed African Americans. Freedmen aid societies had been advocating for such an agency through memorials, petitions, and direct lobbying. The House spent 2 months debating the bill and finally passed it by a vote of 69 to 67 on March 1, 1864. The bill was then referred to the Senate Select Committee on Slavery and Freedom, chaired by Charles Sumner of Massachusetts. Senate debate on the bill focused on which executive department should run the Bureau. Some senators objected to placing the Freedmen's Bureau in the Department of War, favoring the Department of the Treasury instead. Insisting that the well-being of freedmen depended on their connection to the land, these senators noted that Congress had placed control of confiscated lands in the Treasury Department and argued that freedmen and lands should be handled by one authority. Senators who favored the War Department believed it had more experience than any other agency in addressing the needs of freedmen and thought military power was necessary to protect former slaves. Despite the fact that an amended bill would have to go back to the House, where it had narrowly passed before, the Senate placed the Bureau under the Treasury Department and passed its amended Freedmen's Bureau Bill on June 28, 1864, by a vote of 21 to 9. The House refused to agree to the Senate's changes, however, so the bill went to conference. The conference committee reported a new bill on February 2, 1865, authorizing an independent Department of Freedmen and Abandoned Lands, not subject to either the War or the Treasury Departments. The revised legislation stirred more debate. In addition to the issue of which department should control the Freedmen's Bureau, senators disputed the role of the federal government in providing special treatment to a specific group of people at the exclusion of others. Some senators argued that the Freedmen's Bureau would make former slaves and Southern refugees dependent on government bureaucrats who might take advantage of them. It would, in effect, prolong their servitude, Iowa Senator James Grimes claimed. Are they free men, or are they not? If they are free men, why not let them stand as free men? Senator Sumner countered that assistance was a necessity during the transition from slavery to freedom. The curse of slavery is still upon them, he insisted. Call it charity or duty, he said, regarding the creation of the Freedmen's Bureau, it is sacred as humanity. Ultimately, the Senate voted not to concur with the conference report and requested a second conference, which agreed to place control of the Bureau of Refugees, Freedmen, and Abandoned Lands in the War Department. Although several senators vociferously opposed the legislation, the Senate adopted the conference report on March 3, 1865, by a vote of 21 to 9, with 22 members abstaining. The House quickly followed suit, and President Abraham Lincoln signed the bill that same day.